Mitchell has his head up, takes the feet. Oh, my! Donovan!
Get that weak stuff out of here!
Now let's move into our last topic here. And since we are coming down, I can't believe 2023 is already almost over. Figured why not talk about 2024? I'm not sure if we'll have another pod before the new year or not. So I figured why not? Let's talk about the upcoming year and what to really expect. So there's a couple things here that we want to discuss. First off, let's take a look at the standings. The Cavs right now, 16-13. They're a game back from the 4 seed, which if we're setting expectations for what we want to see in 2024, I want to see them get into that 4 or 5 matchup. Do you think they can avoid the play-in? Let's start there.
I think they can. Like, their schedule's gonna lighten up some. They need Donovan Mitchell back. So whatever illness he has, that needs to stop. But provided that they do get Donovan Mitchell back soon, I think they have a good chance of at least being in the 4 or 5. They can't get to the 3 anymore, which I think was a goal. I mean, we thought that they could be one of the top seeds.
1 seed.
Yeah. Well, we didn't see the Celtics playing like this. I mean,
when we made those predictions, I don't even think they had made the Jrue Holiday trade yet. So yeah, but I think like they should be able to avoid that at the very least, get the 6 seed. And I think if you got the 4 or 5, obviously last year they were the 4 seed and they just got run off the court. But if you get the 4 or 5 matchup, still a favorable position.
You should have a chance to win. You know, if you're in the play-in, you are not going to win in the first round. So
I mean, if you're matching up against Boston or Milwaukee in the first round, maybe you get lucky and one of those teams are dealing with injuries, then the door opens up. But that's not ideal. Even the Sixers at the 3rd seed, if you're the 6th seed, that would be a very tough matchup for the Cavs. Getting into that 4 or 5, I think it's very realistic. I wouldn't guarantee it, but I think it should be their goal right now, especially if you get to that 4 seed, home court advantage. Again, of course, obviously it didn't work out last year, but that's a good position to be in. I will note that the Magic, hold on, I had it up here real quick. They are 2-6 over their last eight games. They've been dealing with a little bit of injuries and some, difficult schedule, but it's possible that maybe they're going to be one of those teams where in like November, you're like, oh my God, the Magic are so good. And then you look back and it's like, oh, they're a play-in team. So we'll see if maybe they come back down to earth. I do think the Magic are a pretty fun team though. So I'm not hating on the Magic. I'm just saying maybe the Cavs will be able to sneak in there.
I think it's a pretty there's a lot of bums in this conference, for lack of a better way of saying it. Like, after you get past the first 3, you're looking at the Magic, who are an unproven team, and I think they still need, they remind me of the Cavs from 2021.
Yeah, 2021.
Like we said. And, the Knicks, the Mitchell Robinson injury just happened.
Yeah.
They're a team that relies on everybody. The Heat, they do not care about this regular season. And then you have the Cavs. And then you have the Pacers, who have the worst defense ever constructed. And then you have the Nets, which I don't trust at all. And then you have the Hawks, which have the 2nd worst defense ever constructed, but they don't have the best offense. So it's and then nobody past the Hawks is fielding.
They're not even. That's why that's why I cropped them out.
Right. So it's you're getting the Cavs haven't played the Wizards yet. They haven't played the Hornets yet. It's
yeah, the Cavs have one of the top 5 easiest schedules remaining.
The Bulls are playing a little better, so I honestly wouldn't be shocked if they lost on Saturday. The Bulls are playing better, but it's there's not a lot of good teams there, and I think we were kind of expecting the conference to be just a little deeper. So it's there's a huge opportunity if the Cavs just kind of stabilize some. Even if they were to go 500 until Garland came back.
That's all you need.
They would be in perfect position to start rattling off wins. So I'm not before the season, we were very bullish on the regular season chances. I'm not bullish on the regular season chances, but if they didn't get the 4 or 5, I think I'd be pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
So
I think, our goal really, and you mentioned this on the last pod, we were basically hey, the regular season doesn't matter for this team. I think we were expecting it to be a little more easygoing than it has been, but really all of our focus was on the playoffs. I think if I remember correctly, we all had basically the same goal of like they need to either win a playoff series or be very competitive in the playoffs. You know, you kind of need to see that this team has somewhere to go. There's somewhere to go up from here. So just looking at this just for fun, you look at the Magic, the Knicks, the Heat. If they get into that 4-5 matchup, who do you see them having the easiest time beating?
I'm going to take this in a little bit different direction.
Okay.
Maybe not the best chance, but I think the Sixers are low-key a pretty decent matchup for the Cavs. Just because the Cavs have two guys they can throw on Embiid. They can absorb fouls against him, and they don't, like, you're getting into playoffs, and one of the things that we see in the playoffs with Embiid is that they don't give him the same whistle that they do in the regular season. So I think that they're a team that, like, if the Cavs matched up against them, I wouldn't be like, oh, the Cavs don't have a chance. Like, if they went up against the Bucks or Celtics today, I wouldn't really like their chances. But like in that matchup, I'd be like, this could do something. So
I'm with you there.
So I'd rather them play the Pacers, or like the Magic. Like, I think that would be much better. But I think I would go, if I had to rank, I would go Magic and then Knicks, just because that Mitchell Robinson, would be a game changer if he's not able to go. And then the Heat, just because
they just have another gear for some reason every year.
Jimmy Butler has another gear, and I just don't like the small backcourt going against an Eric Spoelstra team. And then you have a small backcourt and you have a pretty not skilled front court. So it just seems like something that Eric Spoelstra would just put him in hell. So I would rather not see that. So I think the Cavs are, obviously, if you play in the regular season, I'm not too concerned about a regular season matchup, but like the playoffs, I'd rather not see that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. The last thing that I want to hit on very quickly, just because it's fun, everyone loves to hear about it. The deadline's coming up in February. Do we think any move gets made? Could it be, this is the Okoro question I wanted to add, could it be Okoro continues this kind of hot streak, if you want to call it that, and gives himself some sort of trade value? Do they move from him? Do they move LeVert? I think, as I've said a few times, I'm sure on this pod, the biggest move that I could realistically see them making would be moving Jarrett Allen, but I don't think that's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to shake this supporting cast up a little bit, but is there any move out there? You don't have to give me a specific target, but just looking at this bench or even one of the bigger names, do you think the Cavs get active on the deadline, or do they kind of sit put again?
I think they're going to try to do something with that contract for Rubio that they have. I think they're going to try to do something, but I don't know if they're going to do anything major. You can convince me that somebody has something for Okoro that they want, just because he's somebody that I think they could move. Whereas, like, where maybe they get something back, like a better ball handler or something like that, that allows LeVert to play more off ball. Like, the biggest problem we talked about this all last year. The Cavs should trade Caris LeVert. What do you need for a Caris LeVert trade? Well, you need a better Caris LeVert. And who wants to give up a better Caris LeVert for Caris LeVert? So those are kind of like the ways it could go. I don't think you can't trade Jarrett Allen this season just because you don't have any depth in the front court. We just talked about Tristan Thompson. And with
the Mobley injury, if you move Allen and you're not sure Mobley's available, that's just a death sentence.
So I think it's a lot easier to reconfigure everything in the offseason. Like, I think they should have gone out ahead of, like, if you're going to move off from JB, do it in the offseason. If you're going to break up the Mobley-Allen pairing, do it in the offseason. Don't, like, give yourself as much of a runway as possible with Mitchell to try to make it work. But they didn't do that. So then it's like, I don't think doing it in February is going to change anything. So
yeah, I'm with you. And if I recall, that Yahoo Sports story that came out recently suggested that the Cavs are still very confident in the core that they have. I think even JB's job was reported to be pretty much safe for now. Seems like they're going to roll the dice this season. And, I still think there's a reality where they play above 500 basketball. You get Garland and Mobley back February, March, give them enough of a runway to ramp up for the playoffs. Maybe you're in that 4-5 matchup. Maybe you're facing the Magic, and you manage to get a first-round series win.
One thing I will say is that if the Cavs were to trade Jarrett Allen, I do think the Pelicans are kind of the team that he would go to.
They're the team that you keep hearing about.
And I think there's a reason why. And like yesterday before the game, David Griffin was there. So shout out to him. But he was there and just talking with Kobe for like an hour before the game, like for an hour.
Something up.
So like they're good friends and stuff like that. And like after the game, Griffin was walking through the Cavs locker room and stuff. So like not saying that like, oh, that means a trade's coming, but more so like they have a really good relationship. And when you have a really good relationship with somebody, it's a lot easier to kind of like make these deals work. There's always an open dialogue where something could get done.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they make any major moves at the deadline. I would expect if anything happens to be in the offseason. If I had a wish list, and I'm sure that we're going to talk more as we get closer to the deadline, I'm kind of back on the move Levert train. I do think if there was a move you can make, the
resurgence is over.
it might be, but you run into the same problem every time that you just mentioned. It's like, well, who do you get back for him? So I'm sure we'll talk more about that as we move through January and February.
It also hurts that Craig Porter Jr. has looked like a rookie recently because they need a backup point guard. And Levert, this is probably a topic for another day, but like Levert not taking.
I don't like backup point guard Levert.
No, and I don't like. He was in a good role last year, and that role just isn't there anymore. I don't know, and it's not like they had a backup point guard they trusted last year, so it wasn't like. And
the Ty Jerome injury doesn't help. I don't know exactly where I stand on Ty Jerome, but that's an avenue that you haven't been able to explore. That people. It seemed like the Cavs were really thrilled with the way he was playing in training camp, which I mean you hear that every year about the various players, the Dylan Windler special, but like if Ty Jerome was healthy and available and he was playing good, it makes moving away from Caris LeVert a lot easier because then now you don't need to replace LeVert with LeVert. You can replace him with something else. But these are questions that probably get addressed in the upcoming offseason, as we both said. Maybe
the Bulls just absolutely love Isaac Okoro. They said, we want to pair Patrick Williams with Patrick Williams Light.
Give us Caruso, please.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Never
but
happen.
Maybe that's what they think.
Yeah.
Maybe on draft night, they were really going back and forth between the two, and they said, we'd do anything to get our hands on Isaac Okoro. Who knows?
We can only hope.